What is going on, everybody out there in Philly and everywhere in Hockey Town? What's going on? We are drunk on ice. So my name is Don. I'm joined by my co-host Jason. We got a special guest. We got Mike from the Fired Up podcast. We're looking forward to having some great conversations with you this week. Jay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I
going
appreciate
on?
it. I'm excited to be here. Excited for some hockey talk. You guys crushed it last week. How many views are you guys at now? Over 2,100? Did you guys reach 22 yet?
We're close. I think it's like
Pretty damn impressive.
2180.
That kind of blew me away. I was
Yeah.
I was not expecting the feedback to get, when very, very rarely do I have any kind of content that's worth looking into, like all the statistical stuff that you can look at, but looking at the impressions, and seeing how many times it's been kind of circulated out into the Twitter sphere, seeing that it's approaching near 100,000 impressions. I honestly don't even know what the impression means. From what I understand, it just means that was seen somewhere on someone's feed. But really looking forward to just kind of killing this hockey talk, and coming bi-weekly gives us a chance to build up the content to not run out of things to talk about, and we're just looking to get into some good content.
Most definitely, man. I like first and foremost, like thank everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
Like you everybody out there. We appreciate everybody viewing it and sharing it, and it's just exciting to be able to do this podcast together. Like it's refreshing because we all know our love for Flyers hockey. We're all three wearing our Flyers stuff here,
Yep.
so
We all got it.
here to go.
Mike, I was hopefully optimistic that you were going to wear the shirt that you're giving away.
I should have. I didn't even think of that. It's a good question. Yeah, we are doing a giveaway over there. It's a design me and Dom came up with. So go check it out.
So when you guys put out merch, is that something you guys put together?
Yeah. We've designed it. We're in the process of working with our distributor Bonfire to come up with a design, but right now so far it's just me and Dom kind of coming up with everything.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And Jay, you just finished up an episode of Sports and Metal.
I did. We had to take the week off last week, so it was a lot of fun. You know how those times are when you take the week off, like you have a lot of energy and a lot of things that you wanted to talk about. So yeah, it was a great show, and we're just trying to, obviously we cover more than national stuff, but we did get into the Ben Simmons talk, so that was kind of I don't even want to talk about it, but
yeah.
Too much drama.
It's the cowardly lion driving the Mr. Softy truck. Like I'll tell you what though, ton of respect for Embiid, ton of respect for Daryl Morey. Some of the stuff he was saying today, telling him basically that this could last 4 years.
That's fantastic.
I got a lot of respect for him. Real quick before we get started, we have our sponsor, La Terrain Watches, some very affordable luxury watches. So if you haven't gone and check them out. They got some really quality stuff when you go in there. Use the DOB code, and we'll get some kickbacks. Support your local podcast, and we're gonna just jump right into recapping the Flyers. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they look good, right? Aside from maybe one period against the Canucks, they've looked pretty good. It's one of those things where, like, granted, the second game they played the expansion team, nobody really expects a whole lot from. But you go out the very next game and you dominate the Bruins. I mean, you put up, they put 6 against the Bruins? I mean, this team can score, which I didn't think they were going to. I thought they were going to have to win a lot of 3-1, 3-2 type of games. And they're putting up goals, which is really, really impressive. I mean, can we talk about the Joel Farabee, Cam Atkinson duo? I mean, and even Brassard as kind of the third wheel there. I mean, they're the duo I didn't think we needed. That we definitely will deserve, that's for sure.
you can already start to see some of those moves paying dividends this early.
Yep.
The one thing, like when I went through and looked at like like I'm the kind of geek that like will like have like a Google Doc of like just typing out stuff throughout the game. But I can't tell you how many times throughout those first 3 games I'm writing like the aggressive start, getting a ton of shots on goal, like the aggressive nature that and the shoot first mentality, like getting Atkinson and him that he doesn't waste any time. If he's got even the slightest window to take a shot, he is trying to take a shot. I love how aggressive they are. And like you said, Mike, aside from that one period against Vancouver where 2 of the 4 goals are fluky, I think you have to like what you see, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you guys. I mean, just kind of looking at the stat lines. I mean, Atkinson, 13 shots. I mean, when is the last time we had a guy, of that caliber that's actually, going to consistently put the puck on net?
Right.
You hit on a good point too. Brassard, like quietly, I mean, that line combined, you got Farabee with 6 points, Brassard with 5, and Atkinson with 4. I mean, right there. I mean, that's with your first line really not firing on all cylinders yet. So imagine when that happens. If they could see, the whole thing to me is that, and we talked about this on, our debut show, can the Flyers be consistent? And you're right. Like this early punch of coming out and scoring. I mean, it's not a coincidence that it hasn't happened in a very long time. I mean, they have 16 goals in 3 games. The last time that they scored that many goals was 1983, 1984 season when they had 17. I mean, so that's going way back. So I know it's a small sample size, but to be where they're at right now, and, like you said, okay, yeah, you played, the Kraken and you played Vancouver, but then, like you said, to be able to double back and come back and then play that way against Boston, that to me is what's, most impressive. And honestly, what I believe is the most surprising thing to me, but then again, it's not surprising if you listened to what you guys have talked about on your shows, what we talked about, bringing in, guys that were leaders and making a team that's tough, a team that's going to be tough to play against. I mean, how about Thompson, like getting in a fight? Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, he the interaction between, the player and Giroux and them going after Giroux and, the grit and the not going to take anybody's shit kind of mentality that mentality will play so well in this town. And I think it's something that they're only going to be able to capitalize on. Some of the where Hart gives up those goals in that second period, when I go back and look, like he didn't give up another goal until the third period against Seattle. Like, so for him to, those were places where he struggled last year, right? He would give up fluky goals and then he would give up a bunch more, and it would take him a game and a half, 2 games to kind of get right again. For him to be able to kind of flip a switch and turn that around and then not give up any goals in the third and then not give up another goal until the third period in.
Yeah, but if you remember the Seattle game early on, he got tested too. Like he faced a breakaway from a turnover. It might have been Yandel turned the puck over, breakaway, and then he absolutely robbed Jordan Eberle like up on the doorstep. So yeah, I mean, he got tested and he was rock solid in that game.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. Like, it seems like that sequence, it was almost like a light switch went off on the whole team because they did, obviously they forced, the shootout in game 1, but in that game, it was like they were struggling early in that period. they had not only did they have turnovers, they were playing soft. And then it was like Carter Hart had those like it was like a sequence of like 3 saves, I believe. I think Everly was the one where it was like point blank.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
He
they
dove
went
across
back
the net to
down.
get it, yep.
Yeah, and then they went back down on a kind of a breakaway and scored.
Yep.
And it seemed like after that, since that moment, this team's been playing with like a different mentality. And I said it during that game when that happened, that sometimes it takes confidence. And when you have a hot goalie, that can change your whole team from being a team that maybe could finish 4th or 5th in the division to actually competing to win the division. So I think you're right, man. You hit it with Carter Hart. I mean, a lot of people were bashing him after game 1. I saw a ton of people saying, oh, here we go again. And I kept saying, guys, it's first game jitters. It was the first game. Like, you got to give the guy, kid a chance. Like, and he showed it.
I mean, that's typical Philadelphia, though, right? It happens. Something happens in the first game. Super duper hot take. You get him out. He's done.
Yep.
He's the same as so. The way that the way that I'm approaching the Eagles season kind of has opened my eyes to be able to like look at it a little bit differently and be like, it's a slow burn, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's you've got 80 games to be able to make that determination. And I think what you're seeing early on, gives you glimpses into where I think the biggest place where they could struggle could be injuries, right? So they've got to stay healthy. But I think the fact that they've got they've got a lot of young talent. They've got a really deep farm system. I think that's going to help them be able to kind of fill in those gaps.
Let me ask you something. Back to the injury point.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about how good Brassard's been on that second line. I know it's a little while away. When Kevin Hayes comes back, do you put him on that line and do you break that line up, or is Brassard your second line center?
I mean, listen, you got to go if that line is working, and those guys are clicking and they're putting points up like they are right now. I mean, I would be hard pressed to break them up at that point. I think, but here's the other thing though, is that I think Hayes is the type of guy that'll understand that. He's not going to take, like, if you have to put him as, on the third line, I don't think he's a guy who's going to be like, yeah, I'm not playing on the third line. Like, he's a team player. He's a guy who is going to know what his role is. And I think, that is only going to enhance that third line, right? And it makes them much deeper. They're not going to be struggling on the power play. Like, they'll be able to kind of fill in those pieces where, the fact that they're getting the type of production that they're getting from those guys is incredible. And I don't know if you guys I saw it somewhere where the contract of Voracek is almost equivalent to those.
I did see
all
this.
three of those guys.
It's actually more, I believe.
Is it really?
I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, talk about talk about not realizing how bad it was until it's gone. Right? He was a guy who was always a fan favorite. He was a guy that everybody loved. But you're realizing that, like, it was a whole lot of fluff and not a whole lot of production.
Yeah, and I've said it publicly before too, is I legitimately believe he has the raw talent, Voracek, to be like a top 10 player in the league. He's got the shot, he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the hands, he's impossible to take the puck off of, but he's got no brain when it comes to hockey IQ and just makes boneheaded plays.
Right.
That really hurts.
Who's the guy? Oh, he's the Derek Barnett of hockey.
Right, exactly.
Oh God.
Yeah, I was never a Voracek fan, but I agree with Mike. I mean, he's a guy that does have the talent, but to me, what he lacks, like, I'm sitting here watching Cam Atkinson, and it's just a breath of fresh air going from Voracek to Atkinson, because Atkinson is in your face and he has energy and he cares. I think the whole thing with Voracek, and I don't want to say that it's hard to say that a player doesn't care, but he almost had that like just kind of always nonchalant, even like when he would be up against the boards and you're thinking, dude, this guy has size. Like, honestly, in a weird way, he kind of reminded me of Yager as far as his size and like his skill with the puck.
Yeah.
But he
absolutely.
just never I remember like Yager though would hit people and he would like, when he would take the body, and it just seems like Voracek's biggest thing is like, I just don't think he has that killer attitude.
And he refused to shoot the puck too. He forced a lot of passes, and you're seeing that kind of go like trickle down the lineup. Like Giroux shooting the puck more than I've ever seen him so far in the first 3 games. Like he's actually firing the puck and
11 shots
over. Yeah, so losing Voracek and that mentality to just always look for the pass, I think is just going down the whole lineup. And Atkinson, you talked about Atkinson. He reminds me a little bit of Danny Briere, just constantly moving, constantly and a ball of energy.
Comp.
Yeah,
like honestly, like if you look at Farabee and Atkinson right now, they're second in the NHL in plus minus. And generally, if you've seen the Flyers, we've usually had guys on the low end of the spectrum as far as plus minus. Now, obviously, a lot of that had to do with having the worst defense in the league last year, but they're at a +7 each. I mean, that just shows you how dominant that line is. And Brassard's a +5, or actually +6. So between the 3 of them, like that line is just firing on a cylinder. And that's why I said, like, if this line can continue that consistency, and then the Giroux line and Couturier, not that they're not playing good, because they are. They're just not. They don't have the numbers as far as it's 3 games.
yeah.
But what I mean is if they can have 2 lines like that, then this team is definitely going to be better than what I thought.
Well, we got one guy who's really, really listening into everything we got to say. We got Rick checking in with a bunch of hockey action. So listen, as far as like just to wrap up the Flyer stuff, like I'm really, this was the team that I was really, really excited for, because it was the team that had done, like, for me, that I felt like had done the most in the offseason to really kind of switch things up. Like, Chuck Fletcher gets a whole lot of credit for making some of the moves that he made. And, for not for nothing, but like turning a whole lot of nothing into something.
Most definitely. I mean, I think Chuck Fletcher, if this team continues on this trek, even if they don't like vie for a playoff spot, could be in conversation for GM of the year just because of the different, like, it's not just the numbers, like it's the whole mentality of this team is like night and day. Right. Like, honest to God, like Flyers hockey is fun to watch again. I saw so many people like tweeting that out and saying it like, oh my God, this team's so fun to watch. Like, dude, like the last year was just so boring. Every game it was like 100 turnovers. Like, Mike, like obviously when your team's not doing well, it's not fun to watch. But like when you have a team at least that like battles, even if they're not doing well on the score sheet or record wise, at least they care. But when like last year's team, it was like nobody had each other's backs. I mean, I remember when Lindblom got ran over and nobody came to his defense, and like it was like an outrage. Like you won't see that with this team. Like these guys are like gamers and they're ready to like they want to win. You could tell.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's all I kept thinking about in that Seattle game with all the fights. Is like I was thinking back to last year and Lindblom getting cross-checked in the head. Right, and nobody doing anything about it. And I think the Flyers only had like 2 or 3 fights last year, and Lindblom was one of them.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So and then you go to the game against the Kraken where Nate Thompson's sticking up for Claude Giroux. You have Nick Seeler, who 2 or 3 weeks before that, Flyers fans probably didn't even know, and became a fan favorite maybe that night just by hyping up the crowd and that whole thing, that whole fight. And he took his shots from Alexiak, who's he's a monster. He's gigantic.
That dude is enormous.
Yeah. So I mean, it just playing for each other is really kind of the mindset that they've had this year that we've been lacking in years in the past.
Well, speaking of fun, the ESPN TNT coverage, this league kind of got like when they got big, it was the equivalent of like the English Premier League in getting relegated, right? Like their coverage essentially got relegated to like the oasis of sports. For a while, you couldn't even find them on like the ESPN banner at the top. They were in like the drop down more sports section.
Remember when they were on like the Outdoor Network?
They were on the Outdoor Network. They were
Versus. I think it ended up being
like,
after that. Yeah.
Versus, yes.
The fact that they were on a couple of channels that don't even exist anymore, or that aren't even that are carrying, you know, the Carson Wentz duck hunt shootout. Like the fact that now they've gotten this platform to be able to elevate the sport. What are your thoughts on the coverage so far?
I think it's spectacular. Well, so far, has ESPN only done the one night, opening night, or did I miss another night? It was just the opening night. Yeah. I thought the pregame shot and like all that stuff was good. The audio had some issues for me, like the ice mics were way too hot, and I could barely hear the announcers, so I almost had to have the game muted.
Gotcha.
But other than that, it was all right. The TNT broadcast, they hit a home run on that though. That's phenomenal. The pregame, the intermissions, just everything about that I thought was tremendous.
Like having Gretzky on there, the fact that they brought Barkley on there,
terrific.
Was gold. Like you put Charles Barkley on any sport, and just let him talk. And the craziest thing is that you would think he gets up there and he's like a big goober, right? He knows his shit. Like he knows what he's talking about. And the one reason why I think he does is because he bets on everything. So he's got to know.
Charles Barkley is, I mean, he's a legend. Like, and he's just fun. You hit it on the head. Fun. I mean, it's fun again. Like, you're right. Watching, you know, when you have bad broadcasts, that can like totally just spoil the whole moment for anybody, and especially, you know, a lot of times with like the layman or somebody that might not be a hockey fan, you know, even like us. You know, but just maybe somebody that wants to watch something different. And I think having this kind of, you know, bettering the coverage is going to kind of get more people attracted to the game.
Yeah. It's also going to give them a platform to kind of elevate the sport. You know, you can get, we talked about, Mike, on our opening show about like those young kids that are playing out west, right? The kids that are playing in Edmonton and kids that are playing in Vancouver that you want, that nobody has any idea about. Right now, you've got a platform to be able to put them on a national stage where you can get Connor McDavid. You can get, you know, listen, name a young guy, right? You can
Austin
put
Matthews,
them,
Nate McKinnon, yep.
Right.
The best.
You can put those guys on that platform and be able to use that as a way to be able to elevate the sport.
Yeah, TNT really did a good job with personalities. Like, by bringing in like the one-on-one with Gretzky and Barkley, you lost to a guy with a perm. Like you lost a fight to a guy with a perm. Like I was just cracking up. It was great. And then they had him shoot, the Gretzky shoot on Barkley, which was great. And then they could get serious too. Like the next broadcast, the night of the Flyers, they were talking about the Jimmy Hayes thing. And Paul Bissonnette literally had tears as he was talking about it, talking about the drug issues there. So they just have personalities and just people that people can relate to. That I think the broadcasts were lacking in years past.
How about the music?
Yeah,
they brought back the old
ESPN music.
Yes,
I love that.
That gives me chills because it's like it brings me back to when the Flyers were actually really good.
Yeah,
ESPN a lot.
Right back in like the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
Yep.
It's kind of like Aaron and I talked about this on Sports and Metal. Like sometimes when you hear a certain song, it brings you back to where you were when that song was big. And it's the same thing. Like when you hear that old ESPN hockey, it's like distinct. It's like the same thing with the old NFL
Oh yeah.
Monday Night Football back in the day when it was, Madden and Summerall. Like, just it's a different vibe.
There is something
You know
about
what I'm
good
saying?
intro music.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, real quick, I know we, Mike, we could, and I think you guys covered it too. The goal song.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not good. It's funny. So I was at the Kraken game, and after they scored, the Flyers scored the 5th goal. I was like, all right, you guys can stop scoring now because I don't want to have to hear that song again. 5's enough. I feel comfortable with a lead. You guys are done here.
I heard you. Was that the game you guys were talking about where you live bet the game? You
I
needed
did,
one more
yeah,
goal?
yeah. That really annoyed me. I think there's about 10 minutes left in the period, so it's 6-1. So there were 7 goals scored. It was the over under was at 8.5. I was like, 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. I don't like it. It got to right around 8 minutes left in the period in the game, and it went to 7.5. I was like, all right, let's throw some money on it, and it didn't happen. No.
but by the way, I don't think you even noticed this, but you're actually supporting ESPN. They're behind you.
Yeah, there we go.
Look.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't know if it. You didn't even. You didn't make that up.
No,
You didn't plan that,
No,
but
the bubble hockey
You
team
No,
is
just
behind
kind of
me.
give a shout out to ESPN right there. Yeah,
There
that's
we go.
awesome. By the
there we
way,
go.
that's
Pop-
badass. The bubble hockey. Oh,
Yeah.
man, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
Oh.
my neighbor gave that to me. He was throwing it out. I was like,
Nice.
no, don't throw it out. I'll take it.
That is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get off the
That is a
subject. No,
serious
you're
man
good.
cave edition right there.
That's cool.
All right, what are some things around the league that you saw that you think are what was the most surprising thing in the first couple games?
The Buffalo Sabres being 3-0.
Right.
Right? I mean,
The
that's
fact that I had that I was looking at the Buffalo Sabres in the top 10. What? Like that was a team that we said early on that was going to be complete trash.
yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's one of the things where like, hey, everybody's doubting us, right? It's the underdog mentality.
Could be.
They're just kind of playing together, and I don't think they played anybody all that great. So they played Arizona, who I think is probably going to be the worst team in the league. So that'll turn around eventually, but it's an interesting story this early on, especially with the whole Jack Eichel thing still up in the air, which is
Yeah.
insane to me.
What are your thoughts on that, real quick?
I think Buffalo is a dumpster fire. I mean, at this point, just let him get the surgery because at this point, I don't see the negative to the Buffalo Sabres in letting him get the surgery because he's never going to play for you again, regardless if he has the surgery or not.
Right. So he either gets it, and he's healthy enough for you to move him,
Right.
or he doesn't get it, and then you get nothing,
Exactly.
and he leaves.
It's
I don't even know if
mind-boggling.
he really can't leave. Like, it's a weird situation. I don't know.
It's
bizarre.
Yeah.
mind-boggling. Why? Like, honestly, why wouldn't you just at this point want to just cut bait and trade him? Like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, at least on the surface, it doesn't. I mean, unless there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But like,
Could be.
I mean, why would you? I don't know. Just yeah, you're right. It's a crazy all around situation. I mean, who wouldn't want the guy if he was healthy?
Right.
Right.
Oh, he's a franchise type player when he's healthy.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. I think Buffalo for me is my surprise. But I'm also happy to kind of see 2 of my dark horses doing well so far with Florida and Edmonton. Now, obviously, Mike Smith getting hurt, that could kind of change things real quick for Edmonton because I'm not sure how good, their backup goalie is. I figured if Edmonton, I think actually, Mike, I think you might have chimed in on that show that, that was a big question mark. Could he, replicate what he did at age 40? And obviously, I just saw he's going on IR. So that could hurt them. But, I mean, Florida, they're that team. Like I said, they have a ton of talent. Like, when you have a young nucleus, there's always going to be a chance. But like I said, I think, for me, my surprise is the Flyers.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could very easily make a case that, like, the Flyers played their way into being relevant within that first week, and they give themselves if they're going in that I think the most impressive game out of all three of those games was the Bruins game,
Yeah.
right? Because that's a game that you're playing against a team that has been in the elite echelon of the East, as you know, for the last handful of years. I mean, the fact that that Tampa split their 4 games surprised me a little bit. I thought they'd be able to get back. With Vasilevsky, they're able to get maybe get a better start to the season. But I think they're a team that'll be once things start to shake loose, they'll be able to they'll have a month where they'll rip off 13, 14 wins and really put some space in between themselves. But Florida, Edmonton, Minnesota, those are teams that played well the first week.
Yeah, I expected a little bit of regression in the regular season from Tampa. I didn't expect them to dominate because that third line for them was so crucial all last year, really the last 2 years with Coleman, who was a Coleman, Gord, Goudreau. Coleman and Goudreau went off the free agency. Gord went to Seattle. And then you lose Kucherov for, it seems like, long term. So it's a lot of missing. And they lost Tyler Johnson to Chicago. So that's a lot of missing guys, a lot of turnover.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
You know my thoughts on Kucherov. I mean, he was my dark horse for MVP.
He's fantastic when he's healthy.
He's a stud, but I mean, he missed all last year.
And in the playoffs, he didn't miss a beat.
The guy that is kind of, player-wise, it surprised me. And speaking of Tampa, is Stamkos. He looks like he's fired up, rejuvenated.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he has 7 points already, and he's been in every game. He's been all over the ice. Obviously we're, we don't really get to see every away game, when it's Tampa, but from everybody I've been hearing, obviously in the Twitter sphere, you see, people that you follow that are, Tampa Bay, either media or, people that are plugged in, and everyone's saying how he kind of just looks young again.
Yeah.
So that could be he's a guy that, I mean, during our lifetime was, a stud. And, obviously over the last few years, he's, I'm not saying he's went away, but just, talking about surprises for me, that's a guy that, is out there. I don't know how about you? I mean,
yeah, he's been playing well. I do like the Florida pick. They're winning right now to Colorado 3-1. I'm actually watching the game. There's a couple fights that are going on. Speaking of ESPN, I love the fact that they're on ESPN Plus now. I used to get the NHL TV package, which was $160, I think it is. Now ESPN Plus is $4 or $5 a month. I think I have the bundle with Disney, and it's $13.
Nice.
It's like $13 a month. You can watch all the games on ESPN.
Oh,
Plus.
well, I'm gonna have to get that then.
Yeah, it's great. You watch all the games on ESPN Plus.
I think that's one of the things that where I'm I think I might have it. I know I have Disney Plus, and I'm I might have.
Probably has it. It doesn't know he has it.
I might have to.
It's I think it's $13.99 or $12.99. You get ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu. You get all those for $12 or $13.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and with ESPN Plus, you get all the hockey games. So it's awesome.
Mike, are you a late night hockey guy?
Yeah. I got when I started getting the NHL package, it was I've had it for years now, but the last few I made it really important to see Connor McDavid every night because he's just insane. He's just insanely fun to watch. Just anytime he has the puck, it's just something's gonna happen.
Right.
It's crazy because isn't it amazing that the generational player that we all kind of, I mean, Don and I are a little older than you, Mike, but growing up, obviously, Wayne Gretzky probably. I mean, I know there's people that argue that he's no longer the greatest player of all time, but in my opinion, he will always be the greatest hockey player of my lifetime, anyway.
It's hard to argue against the stats. I mean, the stats are insane.
Isn't it pretty cool and ironic that the new generational player, Connor McDavid, is on the Oilers? I think it's crazy, that a team like that can say, "Wow, we not only did we have Wayne Gretzky, we now have Connor McDavid."
and he probably should have ended up on the Buffalo Sabres. Could you imagine him in that mess? I mean,
Oh, God.
that year the Sabres finished dead last and lost the lottery and got Jack Eichel.
Oh,
Wow.
now what a draft that was too, though.
Yep.
Right? I mean, not that Jack Eichel. I mean, he's hurt, but still.
1-2, that's great. And then I think
What?
who went third? Dylan Strome, I think it was. So
Yeah.
the top three is pretty good.
You know what's crazy though is that like those guys are never whatever this city picks at the top of the draft. Those guys are never there.
Nope, never.
But how about it? So you can even go to like another comparison. So not only is it the Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid comparison, you also had, remember, you had Wayne Gretzky with Messier, and you have Connor McDavid with Salty.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that, it's insane? Like,
It's weird.
it's
how
like
it
Robin and
goes
Batman, Batman and Robin. Like,
Also, Drasalti's the greatest pronunciation of Draisaitl I've ever heard in my life.
I know. I can't pronounce. Sorry.
I just had to throw it out there.
Yeah, I'm not too good with pronunciations.
It's great.
Oh, so as far as like the power rankings, the top 10. So, Jay, you started to put together a list, and looking at the teams that have done really well in that first week. At 10, we can start at 10 with the Maple Leafs. What are your thoughts there?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Like, what do you think of the Maple Leafs? I mean,
their offense is good. I mean, I know the first couple games they were without Matthews, so the offense looked a little different. But when Matthews is in there, Tavares is able to slot down into the second line, and their offense kind of works. The back end is still questionable for me in terms of defense and goalie, but I think their offense is good enough to win games. And that's kind of what's going to have to win them games. So I'm hit or miss on the Maple Leafs right now.
Gotcha. Jay, you had the Red Wings and Capitals next, 9 and 8.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't always go by, records, but obviously both of those teams are 2-0-1. Like I said, it's hard to do it when it's early because it's a small sample size. But I will say with the Red Wings, Todd Bertuzzi, talk about another guy that's an older guy that's fired up. Like, he's come out, he's leading the league in plus minus. He's all over the ice again. He looks like the the Todd Bertuzzi that we know, like,
yeah,
hitting everything in sight.
He plays like a pest for sure.
They're a team too that I had said, could be on the cusp. They're not, I don't think they're ready yet to go to the next level, but they're a team that's kind of been building towards, becoming, in that tier, maybe next to contending, not in contention, but, they get a bounce here or there and, somebody overperforms like a Bertuzzi, they could go up to the next level. So, yeah, for me, I mean, obviously the Capitals, I mean, people have been – I saw a guy try to have a hot take that Ovechkin will not score 30 goals this year, and I said, are you out of your friggin' mind?
He already has like 3 or 4.
He has 4.
Yeah.
He's got 4 already.
That's what I mean. Like, I saw that, and I'm like, dude, you're just trying to – that's like a Howard asking. Come on. Like, be real here. Like, there's no way that Alex Ovechkin is not going to score 30 goals. The guy, I mean, the only way he won't score 30 goals is if he's hurt.
He has a better chance to score 60 than he does 30.
Exactly.
Or less than 30, sorry.
So, yeah. I mean, how about you, Don? I mean, what do you think? Because I Washington, to me, is a team that's always going to be there because of Ovechkin.
Yeah, I think Ovechkin is the one that drives that train, right? He's the one who's going to be the catalyst for that team. And I feel like he's the type of player that's going to be that way until he retires. Like, he's always going to be the guy that comes out with that energy that kind of force feeds the offense for the Capitals. But then, like, if you look at like the teams that we looked at 7 and 6, both the Pennsylvania teams, right? The Flyers and Penguins. I think both teams that are, trying to capitalize off of that, that hot start. You could not have asked for a better start to the season for the Flyers, right? The way that they've come out with the amount of energy that they've been able to have every shift, nobody's taken any shifts off. Even on, like, I saw a couple, there were a couple plays in the games where Yandle makes mistakes and they get burned, right? But then there are plays later on in the game where, there was one where the puck goes around and he stops at the blue line, keeps it in the zone, and it ends up resulting in a goal. I think I don't know. I couldn't have asked for a better start for a team that we didn't really, that had a lot of question marks. And I think the more that you're seeing them produce on the ice, the more that you're going to see that shoot first mentality, that aggression it's going to be something that they're going to be able to capitalize on.
Yeah, and I forgot to bring it up when we were talking about the Flyers. But I read a report from Elliot Freeman today that said Joel Farabee's getting like legit Olympic buzz for Team USA. So
wow,
yeah, so that'd be kind of big to see. I mean, he's been on fire, so I definitely understand why. But I mean, that'd be big for him.
I couldn't agree more. Like Joel Farabee, to me, I say he's a guy he's not an elite player, but he has talent to become elite. Like there's guys that are just elite. So you have your Sidney Crosbys. We talked about McDavid's. Like they're like generational elite, But then you have your other guys like, that kind of have to work at becoming, great players like your Marchands and stuff like that. That is a guy that I believe Farabee could become. Like, and we even had those thoughts about TK. And I know we kind of moved on from the Flyers, but we do got to bring up like TK. I mean, he looks like he's back. Like he's a guy that I'm not going to lie, I was almost kind of ready to give up on at this point. Like, because he was just so frustrating. Like he has the talent. And I know that a lot of people comped him to Brad Marchand, like same play, like same, style. And it's just, we've kind of been like, where have you been lately? But he looks like he's kind of on another level now. So I don't know what you guys think, but I think if TK has the bounce back year that everybody wants, like I said, that once again, so I know I had the Flyers like, I had them like 7th on the power rankings, but realistically, they could be 1st. I mean, if you really look at, maybe other than the game 1 mishap,
right?
Which they still almost ended up winning.
I mean, the fact that they were still able to battle back and 1, not give up any more goals after the second period, and 2, get a point out of that game. Those are points you got to steal, right? A game where you had the lead early, you give up 4 straight goals in the second period. The fact that you're able to bounce back in the third period, get 2 goals, take it to overtime, it goes to a shootout. Why the shootout is the kryptonite for this team, I will never understand. But the fact that they were able to still walk out of there with a point, those points you got to steal early on in the season. Those are points that they're going to need later on when they're, when those playoff seedings are going to start shaking.
Yep. Mike, your thoughts on that? Or
yeah. I mean, I fire the shootout directly into the sun. The shootout is the absolute worst thing in the world. I want to get rid of it. I tweeted it out, after that game. Where I'm fine with the Tortorella school of thinking. Right? It's just play 3-on-3 until somebody dies. I'm just fine. I'm fine with that.
I was just gonna say, like the 3-on-3 is actually super fun to watch. Like, did you see that? I forget what game they were showing. I saw a replay of. It may have been the Edmonton game, or no, it was the Rangers.
Okay.
The 3-on-3, it was I forget. I think it was the Rangers and whoever the Rangers played, and it was just back and forth. Like there was like that sequence that Carter Hart had in game 2.
Yep.
There was like 6 of them, like back to back. Like it was like, oh my God, this is like awesome to watch. Like because it's so wide open. Like,
well, that's what 3-on-3 was really intended to be when they first brought it to the NHL. But then every team realized that possession is the most important thing. So now you're seeing teams just circle back, and it takes them 30 to 40 seconds to get started. And next thing you know, you're just watching 5 minutes of them coasting because they just possession is the most important thing. So I think they got to figure out a way to make 3-on-3 more entertaining the way it was supposed to be played. But
do you think if they get rid of the shootout, that maybe that it would give teams more incentive to say, well, because you think that they're doing that, like what you're saying is it's almost like they're trying to get it to the shootout. So what if they did away with that? Do you think that would fix it?
It could. I don't know if they ever would, because I don't think they want like long games. I don't think they want that at all.
All right, Mike, I got a proposition for you.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
You win in regular time, you get 3 points. You win in overtime, you get 2 points. You win in the shootout, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get 0 points. It's the one thing about the shootout that drives me nuts is the fact that the team that just because you took it to a shootout, the team that loses
Get a point.
is still getting a point. Does that give them maybe more incentive to try? Like, obviously, you're going to try. Like, if you can get 3 points, like coming up with some kind of variation of the point system where the losing team, the team that loses, gets 0. So there's not this incentive to try to get it to a shootout because you're going to get a point out of it.
I'm on board with that 100%, and it might make like regulation more interesting. If teams are trying to press late in the game instead of trying to force it to overtime, maybe they put their foot on the gas a little bit and try to score. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with that. I don't know if they'll ever do it, but
I'm putting my hat in for Don for commissioner.
there we go.
Take it over for Gary Bettman.
There you
There we go.
Listen,
Then we have an in.
listen. I was propositioned in the NFL last year to put more games on Nickelodeon to try to get some kids involved and try to get some kids interested in like I think I seriously they were telling me I was crazy, but I think that is really a sincerely good way to get kids interested. Like the fact that, I think Alvin Kamara scoring a touchdown and like the end zone implodes in slime, like
right.
Getting like just something fun, just like that's an aside though. That's just my ways to spice up the sport a little bit.
Right.
But I think you're right, Mike. Any way to incentivize the team to play harder. Like if you got a team that's on the verge of the playoffs and they need those 3 points, you best believe they're going to be trying to score and win in that in regulation time.
I think it's
anything to do away with the losing team getting a point. Like, can you imagine, like in the NFL, if there was like a win-loss and then like an overtime tie, like, oh, we got it to overtime, we get like half of a win. Like it just the whole idea of the losing team still getting a point absolutely makes no sense.
Right. In baseball, you could go 17 innings, right, and lose, and you don't get anything for that loss. You know what I mean?
Look how hockey's kind of, transpired, like the changes in the game. I mean, remember back in the day when it was like the 10-minute overtime?
Yeah, I mean,
then it went to 5. Yeah. Obviously the playoffs, they keep it as a 20-minute overtime, or at least they did. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
It's still the same. Yeah, 5-on-5.
But it used to be regular season hockey when overtime was 10 minutes back when I remember back in like 95. Maybe it was 90.
I will still say the best game I ever watched was that game in Pittsburgh.
The 5 overtime with Primo.
That went 5 overtimes.
And like Primo.
I can remember sitting like on my parents' couch and my dad's coming downstairs because I must have had volume up like super loud and it's like 2:00 in the morning.
Dude.
He comes down, he walks in, he listens, he goes, "This fucking game's still on?" I was like, Dad, Dad, go get a beer. Sit down.
Yeah, I remember that. I was about to turn 8 years old, right? So yeah, so I was because that happened in what,
Dude.
2000. That happened in 2000. So yeah, so I was about to be 8 years old because I think it happened in May 2000. I was about to turn 8 in June. And I remember trying to stay up, and it got to right around 12:30. I school the next day or whatever. I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up maybe 3, 4 in the morning just to go to bed, and I was, Dad, they win? They did. I was like, oh, awesome. So yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, crazy. I was working that's back, when I was at ShopRite, and I kept saying, man, I got to be up at 4 for work. I got to go to bed. And I'm like, I couldn't go to bed. So I ended up watching the whole game, and I actually got no sleep because I had to be in work in an hour after the game ended. So it was like, everyone was just like blown away. I mean,
Yep.
definitely the best game. I mean, you just brought back a memory. Just kind of getting
absolutely.
a chill just thinking of it. Like that game was like, and if you tell people today, like in today's, the younger generation that never saw like that kind of a game, like, I mean, it's just, you can't explain it like unless you remember watching it.
Oh my God. I literally, the euphoric feeling of that when realizing that I had just invested like 7 hours of my life, like just, but it's crazy because then you're like, all right, what the fuck do I do now? Like it's like 2:00 in the morning. Like I got what am I supposed to do? But like that, like so where like my best memories of the Flyers are rooted in like in that inordinately long overtime game. I really feel like there's got to be a better way to award the points to the team that actually wins and just award them based on when the game was won.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, or just find a way to make overtime more interesting. Like remember the year Gossesbear came up as a rookie, how electric he was in 3-on-3. I mean, it was something we'd never seen before. It was so incredibly fun to watch, and that because I think that was either like the second or third year of 3-on-3. It might have even been the first. But it was brand new to hockey essentially, and it was just electric. But now it's possession. It's all it's about.
Yeah, it's literally like you were saying, like literally skate around in a circle for 40 seconds until you can get your 3 guys set up, and then you get one shot at it, and then it literally just flips back around and it's the same exact thing. It's like whoever's got, like whoever you I guess at that point you're trying to create that odd man rush and that opportunity, but I don't know.
I gotta find out,
burn it down,
what game that was, the Ranger game, and I'm gonna find out and let you guys know. You got to go back and check it out. Like it's exactly what Mike is just talking. Like It's the epitome of the opposite of what most of these games are. Like it was literally like every sequence was like a breakaway, and then like 3 saves, and then back the other way, and it was like 3 more saves. I was like, oh my God, wow.
Was it this season?
Yeah, it just happened.
Okay, because on Monday they played the Maple Leafs. Was it that
That's
game?
it. It was the Maple. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go back.
They won 2-1 in overtime. I'll have to watch the overtime in that game.
All right. Well, before we move into final thoughts, I gotta pop one of Rich's comments up here. What is it? What is a Canuck?
I love it.
Does it stand for Canadian fuck?
That's funny.
Rich.
That's just classic Rich.
We love you, Rich.
Well, gentlemen, instead of doing final thoughts, I decided we would do something akin to something that was more along the lines of hockey. So the 3 stars of the night. So player, team, event, anything that stood out. Your 3rd star, right? They start with the 3rd star.
Yes.
The 3rd star, Jay. Who's your 3rd star?
My
or
3rd
what?
star. It's tough. Like you're talking whole league.
So my 3rd star was I was looking at Chuck Fletcher, right? Chuck Fletcher gets my 3rd star for the offseason moves paying off early. My second star, the opening night from the Kraken Knights game, that on ice 3D. I don't even like, I'm technology, but like it's like this like immersion kind of stuff coming out of the ice, and like it was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah, they did that a lot. I don't remember if they did it last year, but I know the first year in the league. It might even be every playoffs that they've been in. They've done it a lot. The entrances with the different
The Golden
mascots and
Knights.
everything. Yeah, the Golden Knights. Yeah,
It's incredible.
yeah, their visuals are insane.
And then my first star, um, the locker tribute that Columbus did for their goalie was just incredible. Like the having it all set up, having everything the way that it would if he were playing in the game. Really just kind of, took me back to like, the Philly reference that I would make is like when like with Jerome Brown, right? When Jerome Brown passed and they had his locker set up at every game. The fact that they were doing that, just shout out to Columbus.
Yeah, Matisse Lennox. I hope I said that right. But yeah, so my 3-star. Jay, do you want to go or do you want me to?
Well,
take
no,
it?
you can go.
Okay.
But that first one's a hard to top. By the way, I don't know if, like,
that is. I don't know if I'm
I
going to
think
do
you
that.
just took the Mount Rushmore there, Tom.
Right.
Damn.
So my third star, my third and second star, we already kind of talked about a little bit, but my third star, Connor McDavid, just how insanely funny. His 8 points in 3 games, his 10th career hat trick, which already at age 24 is the 5th most in Oilers history. At just 24 years old, he's just insane. It's crazy fun to watch. Every Oilers game is must-watch TV.
He is going to destroy their stat book.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably not going to touch anything by Gretzky, but he's probably gonna be number 2 or 3 when it's all said and done. And then my second star is the TNT broadcast, just as a whole. I mean, just we talked about it earlier, the personalities on that. It was just entertaining, and I really enjoyed that. And then my first star of the night is something I don't usually do. I don't usually give these people credit, right? I'm going to do it. I haven't heard the Wells Fargo Center as loud as it's been like it was this week in a very long time. So my first star goes to the Flyers fans because I think it's just renewed energy, and it's been spectacular.
Dude, that's an awesome. See, man, these are good ones. I'm like, I'm struggling here. So, anyway, my third star, I'm going a little bit different route. Like, because I don't want to choose the same thing because McDavid was in my conversation. I'm going to go Anze Kopitar.
Okay.
He's having a huge bounce back year. I think he's tied with McDavid with 8 points. He's a guy that, a lot of people, forget about, but he's a star and he's leading that team, and it's good to see. And I'm a big fan. I don't like to say it loudly, but obviously I'm a diehard Flyers fan, but I always liked to watch the Kings, especially like because when they got Jeff Carter and Mike Richards and that those teams that won, I enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, so, Flyers of the West.
Yeah, so I'm not going to sit here and deny that it's fun to see some of those guys succeed. So
they were a fun team too. I mean, Dustin Brown was great in those years. Jonathan Quick was like a top 3 goalie.
Oh my God, yeah, he was insane. Jonathan Quick was elite.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's a little bit older now, but yeah. So that will be my third star. I hate to do the same thing, but my second one, I got to go with the broadcasts. I definitely. Blown away. Obviously, I work a lot, so I haven't got to see as many games as you guys, but the games that I have, watched and witnessed, it's definitely been, back to what I enjoy. Like, I'm not like wanting to change the channel.
Right.
So, that's my second star. And then, I'm going to keep it Homer because, listen, we're a hockey show, but deep down inside, we're a Flyer show. My first star is the Flyers' second line.
I like it.
Brassard, Farabee, and why am I forgetting his name? Forget his name.
Atkinson.
Atkinson.
Can. So yeah, to me, they've been like the lightning rod, and just everything about them, like not just the points, but the energy, and how they react when they score a goal, and you can just tell that they love it, and they've all said good things about the fans, being so loud, like what Mike said. Like the other night I didn't get to watch the game. I got done work and I had to put it on 93 MMR. And it was loud as shit. Like I could hear the fans over the broadcast on radio. That's when you know that your stadium is rocking. So kudos, great. Everybody, great picks.
All around. I mean, listen, the thing that I think the main kind of consensus tonight was the fact that the Flyers have gotten themselves off to a really good start. So I think, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to look for them to kind of capitalize. They go out west. They got a couple of late starts. So, just look for them to, kind of take that Western road trip and, get some wins out west, and, look forward to, checking in with everybody in a couple weeks. We'll probably have a show, in a couple weeks. But Mike, thank you so much for popping on, for coming on and sharing your wealth of hockey knowledge.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Anything? You guys are still going Monday nights?
Yep, Monday nights we go live usually right around 9:00. On our Twitter and Facebook and YouTube at Fired Up Podcast. So anybody can check us out there.
Go check them out. They're giving away a Fired Up t-shirt.
Yep, Fired Up. A pun off of our Fired Up name with the PH. So yeah, go check that out. Appreciate it.
Mike, tell our audience, since we're a new show and we have a newer audience, tell everybody what you guys kind of talk about. Like, what is your show about?
Yeah, so we are a Philadelphia sports podcast that talks about all things from the four major sports. A lot of it's probably depression, because that's what we're Philly sports fans, so that's kind of what happens. A lot of Ben Simmons talk, even though we don't want to go there. The Eagles are having an abysmal year, so we try to have as much fun as we can. So it's really just the four main sports, and we go and we try to go a little bit into movies and fun.
That's what I meant. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Yeah.
Because I've heard you do the music and stuff too. So
your trivia segment is must listen.
Yeah. Because anybody that knows me knows I'm terrible at trivia. I have an awful memory, and I can't remember anything. So that's kind of how the trivia segment started. It's just Dom asking me questions and seeing how many I can get wrong.
So I saw real quick. What Dom was pretty. We gotta get Dom on at some point, because Dom was pretty pissed that I didn't ask him to come on.
He was. Yeah, that was this week's show. He's like, wait, you're gonna be on? He's like, I'm a little offended. I'm gonna have to take it up with Don and Jason.
We definitely gotta have him on.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody, thank you for coming on, and we will check in with you all next week.
Go Flyers.